You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's The Leftovers After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's The Leftovers After Show.
What is up, guys? Welcome to this crazy episode.
Everything's
of the
crazy,
Leftovers.
and everyone is crazy. We're asleep.
In some way.
We're all
Wake
asleep.
up! Wake up! This is the official wrap-up for AFTERBUZZ TV's Leftovers, Episode 7, Solace for Tired Feet. Hey, microphone, what up?
Good episode.
It's so crazy that even my microphone's gone crazy. I am Alana Jordan, and today, as always, I am joined by my wonderful host.
I'm Zach Wilson, guys. Thanks for joining.
And we, unfortunately, Kelly and Stefan were both unable to join us today, but we have our wonderful guest host filling in.
My name is Nick Marcone. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you. Happy
Thank
to
you.
have you. So this episode, crazy. I'm really glad that they're starting to get into the multi-layered, connecting all the storylines together episodes again.
We're getting that, but like what excites me more is we're starting to get more of, not necessarily answers, but hints, like that there's something bigger going on here.
There is. It seemed for a while when we're diving into all of these character-based episodes, which I love, definitely, especially all of the Matt-centered episode.
Whenever Chris Eccleston's on screen,
Right.
I'm like, okay, what do you got for me, Chris?
I'm telling you, I feel like his scenes are just always brilliant, and I don't know if it's just him or if it's just brilliant every time.
I think
every
it's
time.
that one. He's a great actor. And not just, I'm not just saying that as a Doctor Who fan. Like, he's a great actor. But
you can say that as a Doctor Who fan. I say it as a Doctor Who fan. He's
beyond,
my favorite.
Like, beyond that, he's just a great performer. But his character, there's something alive about his character. After that episode, we got to know him so intimately. We know his problems, his troubles, and what he's got going on.
And we got to know Nora really well, too, and her backstory when we had that kind of character-based episode as well. This one was great, however, about really connecting all of the different storylines. And we've had some kind of secondary storylines that were just hinted at that this one really brought full circle. So we open, of course, with the
Save them
posters all over the wall, using Gladys now as a martyr, an unwanted martyr for her organization. Lori and all the GR are ripping it up, and she sees poor Jill. That has to be rough.
I wanted her to flip off her mom. I don't know what you guys felt.
Yeah.
Did you notice, Lori, she put the cigarette back in her pocket, didn't? After she saw Jill, she didn't smoke the
Jill
cigarette.
is the one that I think is where she's breaking. I feel like with Kevin, she's just, I feel like she's already over that.
Only when she shows her breaking is with Jill.
Yeah, well, because that's her daughter.
Right.
So what's up, Lori? It's so good about asking the question, what happened? What was it that triggered? Why did Lori go to these extremes? And then we even see that later on with Kevin and Nora, who we now find out have been dating for 4 dates now.
Yeah.
I always love too whenever we have Tommy, because that's how we know how long time has passed. Every scene, he's like, "This is how long it's been since we've heard from Wayne." We're like, 2 months. That's how long it's been since the last episode.
She's 8
Good to
months
know.
pregnant. All right.
We're good. Yeah, she's about 8 months. I'm like, you are literally here just for frame of reference for time.
Well, not anymore.
Not anymore. Now we're diving into some crazy stuff.
Babies. Multiple babies.
Yeah.
Multiple Jesus babies or Antichrist babies.
This whole time, we've been saying, you know, this one, she's special. And then her baby, he's the one, he's the bridge. This episode, we find out that there's actually multiple. Holy Wayne has a plethora of different ladies, I guess, options for who will be the one. And I love how this show has set it up to be like Christine. Well, obviously it's Christine. We've been watching her journey this whole time. And then Christine's baby turns out to be a girl. And we find out, well, clearly,
are they just waiting till one of them has a boy? You know,
I think that's what it is.
She's
They're all going to be
impregnating a
girls
bunch of
until
women.
the one. And, they even bring up how many are there.
Well, Wayne is super biblical, like, about everything. And what's more biblical than just getting as many babies in as many women as you can? Read the Bible.
That's legit. I will give you that. Wayne is kind of lost at this episode, though. He calls Tom and then waits. They finally hear from Holy Wayne. And then he goes, who is this? He's like, oh, Tom, yeah, I called you. Wayne is losing it.
Well, he predicted his death a week
Exactly.
ago.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
week ago he said he knew he was going to die. He's on the downfall.
He
in
knows
some
that he's
way.
going to die.
Yeah.
I think
I wonder if the birth of his child somehow coincides with his own death. Some sort of transfer.
I feel like that is a strong possibility. There has to be, well, we even see the other guy. He says there has to be some sort of plan. There has to be a reason. I'm still there. There has to be some sort of reason. There has to be something. But I almost wonder if this whole plot line is just a red herring to kind of throw you off the game and make you think, oh, well, there are some people who claim to have these mystical powers, but maybe they don't. But
I mean, we'll talk about the Grandpa's crazy theories.
that is a huge thing that happens in this episode as well. Is Grandpa comes back.
He escaped.
He escaped and helps Jill escape. Oddly enough, she's trapped, literally. I love that they keep having these references and having everything go back and forth. Sometimes I feel like it gets a little heavy-handed. But this one I thought had a pretty good balance.
You mean just with the fridge or in...
with the fridge one being trapped, having the fridge trapped, having the mental trapped, and then having later we see the dream sequence with the dog trapped in the mailbox. That's clearly an allusion to Tom as well.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think about that reference, the kind of trapping?
Well, I mean, I guess it's everybody is trapped on this plane, on this world. Jill, it's a really creepy image to think about, like this kid that got like shoved in this fridge and then closed the door on him and then he vanished.
Yeah.
That was his last moments, were in that fridge.
Which is also weird when this huge event happens of this vanishing, and then their idea of fun is to go and pay homage to...
It's almost sweet in a sick and twisted way of like it's their way of remembering the people who have departed, is to recreate for as long as they can this kid's disappearance.
The whole teen society that they've created in this like post disappearance world is insane to me. It's one of the most interesting aspects of the show, in my opinion. Just the fact that they find this fun, that they play these crazy sex games. It's growing up in a different world. It's something we can't really relate to. I love watching it.
I
think
agree.
It's great what they're creating with this new teen this new adolescence.
Everything seems tame since the first episode in that app.
Right, exactly. That's what started it all.
But I love that disconnect, too. It shows how they've become even more disconnected from their parents, from the generation previous to them, the people who are growing up with this huge life event. They all have such different perspectives that it's this breakdown in communication. We even see a literal shattering of communication. Tom throws the phone against the wall when he's so frustrated with Wayne.
And Chief Garvey did the same thing when he smashed the phone at Matt's house.
There's a lot of phones. They seem to show in TV shows and movies people smashing their phones a lot. They never show them going and buying the new phone. That's like, why did I do that? God,
well, how
costs so much money?
How much do you like? In our society, like, how much are these things like precious to us? Like, we protect them. We spend like hundreds of dollars on the cases for these phones. So there's nothing more extreme than somebody taking this and just chucking it across the room.
It's a great visual, but I feel like that's the one thing that I'm like, that would never happen in real life. You would never do that. You would maybe take out the SIM card at
Or there
best.
would be some serious repercussions. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this episode had a whole lot going on. We also see Kevin finds the money, makes the connection with Matt and his father, and we see their whole connection going down.
It was only going to be 10 grand in his backyard for so long before he found it.
That is an astronomical amount of money to just be sitting in a peanut butter jar. I'm glad they finally found it, because that's been bothering me ever since he put it back.
The moral of the story is, guys, go dig up your backyard. You might find money.
You may find something that a crazy person buried there for you.
We're not liable if you dig up electrical lines with your shovel or anything like that.
That just means you're getting closer. Dig deeper. If it starts to spark, it means you're close, right?
Don't do
Never
that.
listen to
Don't
anything
do
I
that
say.
at home,
Never,
guys.
ever do that.
What is the money there for in the first place? Have they even begun to explain that? I mean, I know that it's crazy grandpa and the Reverend working together in some way, but like, why that spot? Like, what's the money for?
They still have all these questions where they start to give us answers, and then it just opens up a bigger can of worms of, okay, well, what was their connection? What was their relationship before? Did that start previous to the 3 years? Was that before?
They used to have dinner together all the time. Father Matt would come over for dinner on weekends or whatever. So they grew up, and he's younger. He's almost Chief Garvey's age. So I wonder if they went to school together at all. But clearly, the Grandpa Garvey had. It's really confusing because they're both chiefs and they're both Garveys.
Both Kevin too.
I just say Grandpa. I'm like,
Grandpa Garvey.
You're the only Grandpa. There's two Kevins. You're the only Grandpa. Sorry.
I guess he's probably somewhat of a religious man, and so he has a strong connection to his pastor where he wants to help him. He wants to be part of the community, so he ties his life to him, especially after he starts to lose it. His faith is the only thing keeping him together at all, I think. And faith in whatever these voices are that are telling him.
Yeah, because he is adamant that he is not crazy.
Yeah, which I have some wild theories on those voices that we'll get when we get deeper into the grandpa stuff.
Oh, I'm excited to dive into that. He is just a very interesting character.
He is.
They're so good about this character dynamic and having each character be a foil for the next one and having them bring out these different qualities. The show is just masterfully done. So let's dive a little deeper in. I am interested to talk a little bit about what you guys think about Amy. We're seeing more and more of Amy. And I feel like she's almost like...
Not just her high beams in that.
Yeah. Well, she seems to be almost like Jill's little spirit animal, like what this mystery man is for Kevin. I mean, even though he obviously has more spiritual aspect as well, Amy, there's something slightly off. Like
I've never quite understood why she was there, to be honest with you. And I thought it was for Kevin at first. I thought there was going to be something between Amy and Kevin. That's what they were building up to. And then in this episode, he doesn't remember some conversation he has with her before he has this crazy dream.
Who says it was just a conversation?
Right, exactly.
That's
yeah,
what I
exactly.
was wondering.
Me
That's
too.
what I was
like, okay, so
Kevin,
he hooked
this
up
probably
with
isn't
Amy.
good that you're blacking out with these young girls coming over to your house.
I mean, basically, if you piece that together, that whole thing, basically, he had some kind of crazy drug-induced dream where he was sleepwalking. He grabbed a dog, tied it up in the backyard. Amy, I guess, heard the commotion, came out, saw that his hand was cut, helped him with, she played nurse. And then he wakes up the next day and she's like, you don't remember what happened? That's like a blackout drunk.
also
So
the
you
way
don't
that
remember what
she-
you said to me, too.
Yeah, well, I feel like that's something I almost wonder if she has we were talking about how the twins almost seem to be like Jill's kind of guardian angels at some point. And I kind of feel that too, but I almost wonder if Amy has some sort of spiritual, supernatural something about her, because she seems like she's the only one who kind of picks up on these things without having these set really distinct supernatural qualities, but she's really cool with everything. She's really chill with everything. She is saying, you don't remember this, do you? But not making a big deal out of it. It's Kevin who freaks out.
I wonder if it's that she had, to me, it's like it could go two ways. That either she's has some sort of like connection to whatever supernatural stuff is going on, or because of how like disconnected all the youth is, she's just like, meh, this is life now. That's possible.
That is definitely.
And she just like takes it so simply one day at a time that's how she reacted. Where all these kids are acting crazy, she's just like.
But now she's always with Jill, always.
Yeah,
she lives at their house. Yeah. Now. I think if she is something supernatural, which I don't quite buy. But if she is, I think she's there for Kevin more than she is for Jill.
I almost wonder, too, but at some point, I wonder if the whole Garvey family just has...
The whole Garvey family is Jill, very important. Mm-hmm. Something about, like, Tom refusing to take the hug, Jill, like, well, the two Garvey men, like, the older men, having these visions and going nuts, but, like, that's, as we're seeing, very important. I think it's only a matter of time before Jill starts to get the same thing.
That's what I think too.
I think too.
Tom won't,
and they keep saying it won't be long now. It won't be long now, and that's this recurring theme. I just feel like Jill's gonna get. I feel like it's inevitable that she's gonna somehow be pulled into this supernatural aspect as well.
Yeah.
And I feel like Amy's connected in some way. I'm not sure how, but I feel like she is.
I just can't get that first scene out of her. Like, she just comes out with like no bra on, whatever. The next morning, it's not. They didn't do that by accident.
Her character is just so hard to read too, because she breaks all the best friend rules, but then is still the good best friend. She just confuses me. And now that we're seeing more and more of her, there has to be a reason. There has to be a plan.
Yeah, where's her family? Like, what's her background? She just started living with the Garveys out of kind of nowhere.
Yeah, we never
learned where she came from.
We haven't got too much of her backstory. Maybe we get an Amy episode in here somewhere.
Yeah, maybe she'll have her on.
I'm hoping at some point we get to dive in a little bit more to that. And there's also so much going on with the GR that's just... I know that was really heavy the past few episodes. This is kind of just an allusion to them. And this one, we're just seeing a little bit of their workings. But they've clearly been very shaken by Gladys. And then now having her be this literal poster child for Save Them that we find out is Matt's doing.
Yeah, which the GR's very unhappy about.
No, they don't like it at all.
Giant protest. Which is like in Irvington. Like I know the street that they're on.
I love that you're from there too. So you're just like,
it's really funny because I recognize like half the locations in this episode. So it's like, oh, that's Irvington, that's Tarrytown, that's in Dobbs.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Basically anywhere except for Indiana, which apparently is the worst place in the world, according to this episode where Tommy was. I was like, is Gary, Indiana really that bad?
Yeah, he was in the
ghetto.
I noticed that too. I was like, whoa, needs to get out of there.
Every town has their bad side of the tracks.
I guess. Sorry, anybody from Gary. I don't think your town's that bad. But then we get this awesome interaction. Speaking of the friendship dynamic with Jill and Amy, now we're seeing Lori and Meg. And Meg sees that Kevin started this relationship with Nora, runs in thinking she's going to do the typical girlfriend thing. This is who your ex is dating. Are you going to flip out? I'm going to be here when you flip out. And then she just writes, so...
Well, because Meg, she hasn't... I never really saw Meg as, like, being a GR person yet. She's still... She's in the white. She's smoking. She's not talking. But she isn't, like, fully integrated. Like, she still has those... Like, she still has those emotions that she's attached to, whereas everyone else that's at that level is just, like, blank. Just, like, whatever. This is... We just have to be living reminders and hold up signs and stalk people. But she's, like... too passionate for that.
She is very passionate, and I almost feel like that is inherently opposite position that the GR has, because she cares almost too much, and their whole thing is apathy. You shouldn't care at all.
You can't be excited to be apathetic. That
It's
doesn't
weird.
work.
It's weird. She is. She's like super pumped. She's like the cheerleader for apathy, which is quite an odd situation to be in. But I'm interested too, because I loved when Kevin walks by, he knocks over Patty, and then walks by Lori and doesn't even look at her. And they really have this slow motion where you really pay attention, where it shows you that he's basically over Lori completely at this point. He's moved on, and Lori seems a little hurt by it. So I almost wonder if if it's a veiled thing.
You thought she was hurt?
She just looked confused, I think, more because he's always looking at her, and he always has that look of that, that remorseful look. And this time that didn't happen, and her expression is just one of such like bewilderment. I just feel like she thinks she didn't know up to that point that he was with someone else. But I feel like that almost alludes a little bit to what happened with them before. Did she know that he was having an affair? What was the breakdown? Were they already kind of on the outs before this big event?
We still don't know who it was that he cheated with. My money's still on Amy.
I feel like it might be.
Really?
But I don't think so now, because she's been in the house, and she's, I feel like if that had happened, Kevin would be like, you can't stay here. Just by their interactions. Now I'm thinking less.
Yeah,
Earlier on, I was thinking more.
I just don't think he'd exactly. He wouldn't let her live with them if it were
Yeah.
Amy. It would just be, well, I guess Lori's not there anymore, but still.
But
it
now
would
he's
just be
with
too much
Nora, and he
temptation.
doesn't,
Yeah.
I
He
feel
doesn't
like
need
he's
that.
like, he's not trying
We'll
to.
see, though. I mean, that's a really interesting question. I didn't know that.
But then it almost makes you wonder, you still have the question, who did that to Gladys? And I'm like, Patty is all about everything is for the cause. Everything is for the cause. I don't know. I don't want to say that I feel like it was an inside job, but I'm like...
Oh, I'm fully on board with it being Patty.
I feel like she's pulling strings. I feel like she's doing something.
If it's not Patty, it's like the GR, the bigger GR, because we know that they're all over the country. My money's still in the GR, although you have to wonder if, like... I don't want to think Matt was behind it, but they're so using that situation as like a driving force against the GR. I wonder, for a moment, I'm like, what are you up to, Matt? Do you have a murder in you? But I don't think he does.
I don't think Matt was really associated with that. I feel like just because they try to make it look like he was, whatever they try to make it look like, I know that it's not going to be that, and it's going to be some crazy thing that drives me insane.
Or they know you're thinking that way, and they give you that to spell it, only to make
Totally
it
meta.
right down the line. Well, because now these days with TV, they know that there's people like us dissecting every little thing, and it's why this show is like I think a little heavy on the religious symbolism, is because they know, like that Lindelof knows because of Lost, like how much people are going to read into everything you give them.
And just go crazy on the message board and start blowing things up. Speaking of which, we would love to hear from you guys on iTunes as well. Rate, comment, check us out on iTunes. All of our AfterBuzz shows can be found on iTunes, and we definitely appreciate whenever you guys comment.
How much does something like that cost, Elena?
It cost no money at all. All it costs is a fun time commenting on things.
It's so much fun. Yeah, and we got some awesome comments.
Some finger strain on your keyboard.
That we haven't shouted out in a few weeks, and I apologize. We haven't gotten to it, so I apologize. But you will get a shout out. We'll get to them. So please go onto iTunes and get a shout out. So Boy Marvel was talking about the episode Gladys, and said she loved Patty in that episode, or he loved Patty in that episode. The death of Gladys gave me a reason to care about Patty. To me, Gladys and Patty were good friends, and Patty not only lost a follower, but a friend. And then it's a very long review after that with a lot of theories and stuff, but you can go check that out on iTunes. And I have to give a big shout out to Pit29, because she says, 5 stars, good theories and insights. And then she says, always enjoy the podcast Zach hosts. Seems like he usually brings more information to the show than just the recap. The Leftovers is definitely a show that is much more fun with discussion. That made me light up. I was so excited. That's seriously, it really does make our day when you review the show and when you like it, because we want to know that you guys are having a good time listening to us. We don't just get up here and talk into the ether. Or it's good to know that we're not doing that. It's
Rate
totally
us,
possible.
comment, and make Zach smile that big. Look at that. It's adorable.
It's really cool.
You
It's
can
fun.
make that
It's
face
fun.
happen.
We do this for the fans, and so we like to hear from the fans.
This is fun. I like being here.
Well, we like having you.
Yeah.
So we got to talk about Holy Wayne.
Oh,
This
yeah.
man-
That crazy
Is
guy.
Holy Wayne.
What is going on with Holy Wayne? What is happening? What is up with all of these ladies? Do you guys think that there is a plan? I feel like Tommy has just given up at this point. He is over Wayne. What are your feelings? Are you...
Tommy's just like pissed because he feels used. Like Wayne sent him on this errand. He's not calling him. He's not giving him anything more except like follow this. All he has is stay with this girl, protect her, and don't have sex with her, even though he really wants to.
Yeah, I don't know anymore. I think he thinks Christine's crazy because he's like, Wayne's not going to call. Wayne hasn't called. He hasn't called in 2 months. He's abandoned us. He's just kind of abandoned hope.
Well, because he really brainwashed these girls into thinking like not only that they're the one, like for the, like he's very important to each of them, like that they're his girl, even though he clearly has at least 2, presumably a bunch more,
Presumably multiple.
Who knows how many? Yeah, I've been so ready to write off Wayne as a red herring, as the actual crazy person on the show, is just brainwashing exactly these girls. But the thing that I find most fascinating about him is the hugs, and everybody claims that their pain goes away when they hug him. It went from Nora to the guy that Tommy was talking to in this episode. Have you hugged him? I've got no pain anymore. That's the only thing that keeps me guessing about him, because the whole baby and pregnancy
I almost wonder
thing is
if it's
just,
the
I don't
people
buy it.
who allow themselves to be hugged are the ones who genuinely believe that it's going to take their pain away, and by genuinely believing it and wanting it so
they just
bad,
get swept up in it.
they just mentally go, okay, well now my pain's gone.
Yeah, because
And
the brain is powerful. The brain can do that if it just needs that little push to think that it can. Like Nora last week, all she really needed, I think, was a good cry and like somebody's shoulder to cry on, because she didn't have anyone. She didn't have a her brother was like kind of a dick. Like he dropped like this massive bomb on her, but her husband's gone, her kids are gone. Like she's just devastated and has nobody to cry. Matt probably was just like, even when he was there for her, he was probably just pointing her to God. And he's like this crazy guy who's like handing out flyers about how the departed are not the good, and like her family's departed. So what does that mean? And so she really just needed a good cry.
Yeah, I feel like Wayne may have some... It's just... This show is so good about setting it up where it could literally go either way. When you get this information, you go, well, maybe he did need to have multiple girls because maybe they were all going to give birth to girls except for this one that was going to be the bridge. Or maybe he's just some dude that is knocking up a bunch of youngins that are lost and confused.
What do you guys think that means, that Wayne... They keep saying he's the bridge.
Yeah.
What could that possibly mean? I've been trying to think of a theory.
It's this big second event that they keep talking about that's coming. It's like the second coming, but it's this big event. They keep saying it won't be long now, it won't be long now, and it's all connected somehow to some mystery baby that they've been setting up this whole time to be Christine. And then we find out, well, that's not anything. There's somebody else. There may not be anything at all, or there may be this bridge that we don't know where.
Unless maybe he's the bridge, he's the one. Maybe he can talk to the people who are departed. Maybe he can live in both planes, wherever they are. Maybe there's an alternate Earth. Crazy wild theory. Maybe there's an alternate Earth where 98% of the population disappeared, and just those people, just that 2%, are left, and they're like, where did 98% of the population go?
They just switched them.
That's interesting.
And he's the bridge. He's the one that can get to that other side.
I don't know.
And then the Garveys can hear the voices of those 2%, those few people that are talking to them through whatever connection, they're the bridges.
I feel like that's an intense theory that would be amazing if it actually happened.
Well, you heard it here first, guys.
Or they just bring you in for a writer for, a later season.
I am available.
Yeah.
And,
That will also bring that smile to your face as well. Comments or job offers.
Job offers always good.
We were talking a little bit about this before, Plato's Parable of the Cave.
Yeah.
And this story of this story that's been around for a long time, since Plato, Socrates are the great philosophers. And for those of you who don't know about Plato's Parable of the Cave, it's this story of all of these people who are living in a cave. And the sun reflects the shadows of the trees and of the different things and the animals, but they never fully see it. All they've ever seen are the shadows until someone, a bridge, is brought out of the cave, sees the real world, and then acts as the bridge to come back and say, you haven't seen the real world, everything that you've known. This is a two-dimensional shadow. This is beyond what I can even describe. But they turn on him because he's bringing information that people don't want to hear. And I feel like the GR keeps saying that too. Wake up, wake up. And there's this whole pattern where they keep saying everyone's asleep, everyone's asleep. And it just seems like such a direct reference to Plato's Parable of the Cave.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about it. Whether it's going to be something that's bigger connected to that, like we need to be shown this outside universe that we just haven't experienced yet, or if it's just like they're using that as a diversion or whatever. They're absolutely playing to that in this episode.
I feel this episode, especially, the whole season has kind of had a little bit of reference to it, but I feel like this one, but then it also makes you wonder who is going to be the one in that story. Is it this baby? Is this baby the bridge? Or is that, as we talked about before, and BJ and the AC, maybe that's baby Jesus and the Antichrist. Maybe this is the downfall of our world. Maybe Kevin is the one who's supposed to wake up and enlighten those that his dad even says, everyone, the lucky ones, they get to stay sane, but we're in the game now.
Yeah.
I thought that was really powerful when he said that. Yeah, I mean, I think Kevin is succumbing to it. I think he's going to eventually, by the end of the season, I think he's going to start hearing some voices. He's going to start going crazy, too, and he's going to realize he can't escape it.
Yeah, well, I think maybe his dreams are so symbol heavy and so out of whack, because I tried to break down his dream as it was happening. And so we have, it started with, like, the dog scratching at the door, which was probably real. And then you have like the bald man's there and he's got his gun, and then the chief suddenly has his gun, and you got flashes to like the real moments of him shooting the gun, like memories flashing back. And you had Tommy at home like, all right, Dad, and he slams the door. That could have been a memory, something we didn't see on the show. When Tommy's just like pissed and he's crying like, I don't want to shoot them.
That, I think this is when they just went direct with their metaphors, and I don't like when they get so literal that they literally have the I don't want to shoot them, and then the whole time they've been saying they're not our dogs anymore. It's been a reference to Lori. It's been a reference, they're not our family. There is no family. What you had once believed to be your security is no longer a thing. And then he says, I don't want to shoot them. And then the reference of him rehabilitating the dog, then showing Lori with a gunshot in her head and the rest of the GR with a gunshot. It was just where they're directly saying, the GR, these are the dogs, these are what we're talking about. But, you feel uncomfortable shooting them. It's not put down their ideas. Don't literally shoot them down. Rehabilitate them, wake them up. Everyone needs to be enlightened. And I just felt like that dream reference was a little heavy-handed in that one instance. And the same thing with the blue box, with the that's, I can't.
Different blue box.
Oh. But when we see the mailbox, which is obviously a reference to Tommy that he couldn't know about, so we are seeing these other supernatural references. It's just become really literal, I think. And I feel like the earlier dream sequence with the fire and the different things, they were a lot more symbolic and referencing kind of things that weren't spelled out as directly as I feel like they're kind of doing now.
I mean, the fire dream that Matt had was like the most like, it was like Book of Job right here. It's like, this is Job. But they actually referenced Job again in this episode. We were talking about Wayne before. Wayne, naked I came from my mother's womb, naked I will depart. That was Job. It was, I think it was Job 121. But it was, but that's a big thing. People are being tested. The Garveys are being tested. Wayne's being tested. Tom's being tested. They're all being tested by something. So can I throw out another wild theory?
You can throw out as many wild theories as you want. I love them.
Because like Grandpa's hearing voices. Some other people are hearing voices a little bit. But I'm thinking if it's like whatever, I'm thinking angels. Not literally like God's angels, like the Bible is true in this show and everything. Like we're not talking Dominion or like Legion or anything like that. But like what history has thought are angels are now coming through again after this event and will reveal themselves as I don't even know what, but we will realize that they are what were perceived as angels in the past. So like religious figures, but not.
I like that one. I feel like that could be, especially because I love how they have all these religious illusions, but then Kevin Sr., Grandpa, is the most foul-mouthed man, and he's saying Jesus Christ, and just like left and right, and Jesus and everything.
Well, he's a prophet. Like if he's hearing the voice
he's the
of God
foul-mouthed
or
worth
angels.
of God, which I think is hilarious. That the voice of God would be taking the Lord's name in vain, and this, that, and the other, all the things that they say don't do, and then he's this. So
you think Wayne is in some way an angel as well? Maybe they're all like. Because there are different types of angels. I mean, I don't know the religious
I don't think
symbolism as well, but
I don't think they are angels. I think that they're what you would consider prophets, because they're the ones. Prophets are the only ones who get to hear from God, like via His angels. They get to hear all the stuff that they're meant to know. They get to be the person who gets pulled out of the cave. They're the bridge between God and the lay people, just like the regular people. So I think that that's sort of what we're getting at, is that these are prophets, and whoever they're hearing could be quote unquote angels.
I think that's a really good theory. I agree that it's going to be something. I feel like they're going to play up the religious aspects, but change it enough that it's not a direct reference.
I almost feel like that's what I've accepted as watching the show. I mean, that's what I feel like what it is, especially with what they chose as the beginning credits. I feel something so extremely religious that it's going to come into play in that way somehow.
Yeah, and I don't want to say aliens.
I hope it's not aliens. I don't want it to be aliens. That's a theory a lot of people have been saying to me, and I'm like, I just don't want it to be aliens. I love aliens, but just not this time.
Well, but like, I get that like you don't necessarily want the answers and everything, but we have to get something towards an answer, like a motive, maybe not the whole story, but pieces of it.
We'll get more backstory and then more allusion to this future event.
Do you think the future event is another round of Departed?
I feel like it's going to be something that explains more of why this 2% went away, because I feel like that is, as they keep saying, this just a precursor for a bigger event. I don't know if it's going to be another departure or if it's just going to be, a biblical hell on earth apocalypse, 4 horsemen type situation where horrible things start happening, or if it's going to be something of we need to become enlightened. I feel like they're also going to have some sort of message over it, because I feel like a lot of what they're playing up is be aware of your surroundings, be happy with what you have, because he even says, here ain't so bad, kid. And I feel like they're going to keep playing into that.
Maybe God is slowly taking away those who are not going to the heaven or the
but he took like
bigger, better land.
As we
maybe
see,
that's why the priest is saying all these bad things about these people, and maybe the next event again is another.
But then all the people here are sinners too, so it's this show takes the traditional religious aspects and just turns it completely on its ear, and it's so good at doing that.
Yeah, because I mean the thing is, like, you're tempted to think, oh, these are the sinners, but then like the first person we see departed is a baby.
Is the baby. That's
who's more innocent than a baby?
Has that baby been baptized yet? You have original sin. I'm just saying. I'm saying there's explanations behind that.
I feel like the whole they've got to have, as we've seen with Nora, there's no true connection that they can find. There's no scientific empirical epistemology type view that applies to this departure. It's literally just out of any sort of realm of comprehension. Did you guys notice that both Kevin and his son Tommy hurt their left hands in this episode?
I didn't notice.
He got shot.
Yeah.
I noticed. I was like, if they're the right hand of, because they keep having the references of the right hand of God, and then but forsake the left, and then they both. I don't know. I know that's a bit of an extreme illusion, but I was
actually
like,
quite interesting.
I thought that was interesting.
There's no such thing as coincidence. And the dad, grandpa rather, says context is everything, son. Everything is important, and like not just what's happening, but in what context. So that one quote I wrote down because I think that is going to become very important. I think that's going to be huge, and I would really like to dive into some predictions. I think you guys have had some good ones so far. As if we haven't been predicting. I know. I'm like, let's just dive into
Isn't that all we've talked about?
Well, because we get the National Geographic too.
That's what I was going to just bring up. Yeah,
what is the huge thing. Yeah. What do you guys think that is going to represent? May 1972. I think it's going to send them on some kind of wild chase, and I base it because next week's episode, I believe, is called Cairo. It's called Cairo, right? Which is what he heard on the radio. He heard on the radio, but if I pulled up the cover of that National Geographic so I could look at it, and one of the headline articles, like on the little side, is Cairo, troubled capital of the Arab world. Okay, so we know it's something with Cairo, and we know that it's some sort of supernatural something. It came over the radio. There's something he needs to read in that 40-year-old National Geographic, though. Like, what is it about that article? I'm going to try to track down, and we'll have it for next week. Yeah. We got to know. Follow us on Twitter, because we're going to. When I find it, I'll be tweeting about it. Like, I think that there's going to be something in that book that's super important. That's going to send Garvey out of town. He's going to have to go. Because now he's got, even though he threw away the one, the dad's like, fine, you don't want to, I'll tear it up. But he got another one. And I think he's going. That's true. He's going for a trip because of Jill. I love that they still have that, that connection. And I feel like Kevin isn't crazy. I don't think that Kevin Sr. is legitimately crazy. He checked himself into the institution. I know he burned down the library and then beat somebody up. He's got to stay away from libraries. Well, he apologized. He's like, not his favorite place. I didn't want to hurt him. I like him. Tell him I'm sorry. He just got in my way. Yeah, I think that there's a mission that they are just. There's going to be a set, full-fledged, laid-out plan, some sort of mission, some sort of goal. At some point, I'm hoping maybe they'll dive into it in Cairo. The next episode after that is also called "The Garveys at Their Best." So, what could that mean? That could mean so many things. So many things. But the thing I found really interesting, the final episode of this season is called "The Prodigal Son Returns." And if you remember in episode 2, the very first thing that Kevin Sr. says to his son is "the prodigal son returns" when they meet for the first time. So I feel like that's almost going to be a reference. They meet in the mental institution when he says that. So I almost wonder, we always dive into I feel like Tommy has to be coming back soon. Like now he's on this crazy, he knows, he's tired of Wayne. He knows that Wayne's like hiding stuff from him. I feel like where else is he going to go? Now he has a baby to look after. I feel like he's going to, I don't think abandon Christine, but I feel like Christine is very much set on Wayne, and I feel like Tommy is over it. I think he is going to go home, but prodigal son could either be Tommy or be Kevin. Well, I think one of my last predictions for this week, I think Tommy is going to tell Christine that they're still following Wayne's orders, and they're going to go to he's going to go home. He's going to take her and the baby to Chief Garvey. I think so too.
Unite the storylines, and we'll see where that goes.
Imagine Jill's face when like Tommy walks in with this like this little black girl.
And
Clearly
his
not his baby.
New underage Asian wife. She's like, all right, well, you've been busy.
This is a like imagine your brother goes out. You're like, I don't know what he's doing. He walks in with an Asian girl and a black baby. Clearly not his. What is happening?
What is happening on this whole show? This show is just, it's crazy.
Every episode, you have more and more and more questions.
Well, hopefully we'll get to answer some more questions next week as well.
Answers will only raise more questions.
We'll just have more questions, more answers to those questions, and then more questions to make us insane. Catch us next week, freaking out too over what will inevitably be another insane episode of The Leftovers. Be sure to check us out on iTunes as well. Where can we find you guys?
You can find me not many
Twitter?
places. On Twitter. Yeah, find me on Twitter. Yeah, my handle's Marco Nick.
And you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ThatZachWilson, ThatZachWilson, and also here at AfterBuzz on MasterChef and The Strain.
And you can find me on Twitter at Alana Jordan, ALANA JORDAN. I'm going to spell mine too because I think it's fun. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will catch you next week on HBO's The Leftovers Wrap Up.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.